All right. Hello, everybody. Looks like we have just a couple people online here. The purpose of this live stream today is to just give you an opportunity to ask questions that you may have about the upcoming NLP hypnosis certification training. It's going to be starting this Tuesday, November 15th from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. There's going to be 15 modules. They're all live and online. And what that means is myself, Tim Halbum, and Nick LaForce will all be teaching together. Sometimes Tim will be teaching a module, sometimes Nick will be teaching a module. Many of the times there'll be perhaps all three of us on there, maybe two of us on there, maybe one of us on there, but it'll be a nice equal balance throughout those 15 modules where we'll be going over everything that we're going to cover in the program. Now, for those of you who haven't gone to the website yet, it's nlpca.com. There should be a banner that comes up on the homepage to take you right to the NLP Hypnosis Certification Training page. I'll go ahead and put the link also in the chat here for you to check out. So I'm going to grab that now. And let me tell you a little bit about how we do training live and online and how we can actually, this has been a big challenge for a lot of trainers and educators since COVID, which is, we used to meet in hotels and we meet once a month over maybe, 3 months, half a year, depending on the length of the program. And we would teach a little bit and then we would demonstrate a little bit and then we'd have you go and practice a little bit and we would watch you practicing. So common question is, how do we do that online? And one of the ways we do that is we use Zoom. And with Zoom, we have Zoom rooms. And so we can have a class full of about, 40, 50 people. And then when it's time to do exercises, we put you into breakout rooms. And then you're able to kind of go into a breakout room with one or two or three people, depending on the group size for the exercise, and actually practice. And then the instructors will kind of cruise through the rooms and see how you're doing. So we've spent a lot of time thinking about how we can teach you online and really make this material accessible to you, but also show you how to get the same kind of results that you would get in person. I've been doing, I ran the Bay Area Hypnosis Center since 2012. I've been doing hypnosis professionally since 2002. I started learning neurolinguistic programming back in the 90s. And I am the youngest and the one with the least experience out of me, Nick, and Tim, which is why between the over 80 years of professional hypnosis experience. Now, let me tell you something. I've been doing this full time since 2002, but I have seen a lot of clients for hypnosis. We have done thousands of cases of smoking, weight loss, stress, sports improvement, habit reduction. I've even done a little bit of forensic hypnosis, which is where you help people find and recover lost articles, which is a very interesting application of hypnosis as well. And so there's a lot of experience that we bring. Tim Halbum has been in the field of NLP almost since its creation. He was really kind of one of the first people to become a trainer. He trained under Steve Andreas. Steve Andreas and Connie Ray Andreas worked directly with Richard Bam, John Grinder. So Tim's been in it for well over 30 years, probably closer to 40 years. Same thing with Nick, just, maybe within the first decade of its creation. And both Tim and Nick teach all over the world. Tim's actually in Japan today. I had a 2.5 hour meeting with Nick earlier today, planning for the training, and we're really looking forward to teaching you hypnosis. And one of the things that I know that I bring to the table is, we ran a professional clinic. I ran a professional clinic for a long time. I still run it, but it's a little bit different now because I do it all online with clients from all around the world. But for many years, I had a hypnotherapy office with 3 treatment rooms and a teaching room. And during that period of time, I myself would see up to 20 clients a day for hypnosis. And you might ask yourself, how is that even possible? Especially if they're about 1 hour appointments, which they were. And there was a certain technique that we used called plate spinning. So it's kind of like a doctor where I would go in and assess a client, see how they're doing. And then one of my assistants would come in and start to induce the hypnosis. And then I would come back and do the main treatment or the main intervention or the main body of suggestions, the stuff that really needs to be heavily customized. So I've had thousands and thousands of sessions with clients, and hypnotherapy is a really important tool when you're doing behavioral change work. For those of you who may be familiar with neurolinguistic programming, that means to essentially reprogram your nervous system through the use of language. And NLP works with those parts of the mind that seem out of our reach. A lot of stuff within our reach, but some of that stuff that seems beyond our reach. And when Richard Bandler and John Grinder were first creating neurolinguistic programming, they modeled three very brilliant uh, therapists. The first one was Fritz Perls, who was a Gestalt therapist. The second one was Virginia Satir, who was a family therapist, often known as the mother of family therapy. And then the third was Milton Erickson, who was a psychiatrist and a medical hypnotherapist. And that's where Richard's love of hypnosis really, I think, began. And since then, NLP and hypnosis have really gone hand in hand. I will tell you, in doing habit control and helping people make long-term changes, hypnosis is a very, very powerful conditioning tool. And I couldn't imagine trying to do a stress program, a weight loss program, a sports program, smoking cessation or habit control program without using it. I find that it's not only really enjoyable, it's often kind of considered like a mental massage. But it's just incredibly powerful as well. So I'm going to encourage you, questions, when you have questions, put them in the chat. And what I will do is I'll try to answer them in the order received to the best of my ability. And let me just tell y'all, this is the first time I've ever done a live stream. So I might technically have some challenges, and I will do the very best that I can to acknowledge everyone who's got a question or has some feedback they want to give or anything like that at all. So just feel free to put any kind of questions that you have in the chat and I'll answer them. I do have some questions that I've gotten from students and people that have emailed me. So I'll be answering some of those as well. But if you have a question, just put in the chat and I'll get to it as soon as I can. And I expected this live stream will probably go somewhere at max an hour. I'm going to end it at 1, no matter what. If we run out of questions before then, I may end it a little bit earlier. So let me tell you a little bit about how we teach online. So we have an online learning portal, and we've done this. I was actually working on this pre-pandemic before that, so I was planning on doing this anyway. But since the pandemic, we really have been, really relying on this as kind of our new hotel space to teach. Here's what I love about the learning portal. Any class that you take with NLP Institute of California is what I consider to be a living class. And let me explain what I mean by that. So if you take this class with us starting Tuesday on NLP Hypnosis Certification, all 15 modules, every Tuesday from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we're going to be meeting live online, and we're going to have a 3-hour class. And there'll be, we do a break every hour. It's not just lecture either, which would be challenging to sit through for 3 hours. It's we give an overview, then we give a demonstration, then you go do an exercise. Then we give an overview, then we do a demonstration, then we give you an exercise, and you go out into breakout rooms and do that. So it's very interactive. You get to meet people from all over the world. We just wrapped up last week our NLP coach certification program, and we literally had people from all over the world, which really made it really interesting in terms of the different perspectives and people and challenges that people brought. Let's see here. Do you provide PowerPoint of NLP in your NLP training? Yes, we do have. So I'll get to that in just a minute. So let me tell you, the way the learning portal is set up, when we do class on Tuesday, by the end of the week, usually by Friday midnight, sometimes it's by the end of the day, Saturday, that module for the week is then taken. So we've got that 3-hour Zoom meeting. I then cut that up into each of the individual learning points, into the individual exercises, the Q&A sessions, and curate that. And then I add that to the learning portal. So you can go back at any time and go back through that entire class. But instead of just watching a 3-hour video, you can go to each specific section that you're interested in, and you can go back there for a review. You can go back there if you're going through it the first time. However you want to use that. This is something that, man, I know I wish I had back when I first started learning NLP. I know Tim and Nick both wish they had it as well. Because whenever you're taking a course like this, there's so much information that you're going to be learning. It's kind of hard to take it in at that first glance or that first shot. And so these are living programs. And what I mean by that is your entire course, by the time you're done, is all in that learning portal, curated, broken down into modules and then sections within modules and then teaching points within modules. So like, for example, the hypnotic induction, we're going to teach you several different inductions, but each one will have its own different section in that learning portal. So you can always go back if you want to like really nail down the what we call the modified Ellman induction, which is a very quick, fast, road tested hypnotic induction that you'll probably use daily with your hypnosis clients. You can go back to that section again and again. You can rewatch the overview, you can rewatch the demo, you can get the handouts, you can get the diagrams. So in there, as well as the videos that and the videos curated and sliced up based on the learning point, we have handouts, we have a full manual, and whenever we share with you PowerPoints of different concepts that we're teaching, those PowerPoints are then converted into a PDF and uploaded as well. So to answer your question, Megatron, those PowerPoints are also available in there as well. So there's a tremendous amount of documentation that goes along with it. And what's nice about it is the documentation is you will get a full manual, but it's also broken into each week. So you can go right to any section that you want and everything you need to know about that section, the videos, any audios if they're in there, PDFs, handouts, exercises are all within that section. And the reason we're doing that makes it really easy for you to go back and find that particular technique or protocol and go back and review it. Now, on top of that, we have what's called the study support group. So when you join one of these online programs, what's going to happen as well is there is a section in the very beginning in the first set of modules where you can go in and add your name and your contact information so that other people in the class can contact you and set up a practice session with you. So you can go to module 3, take the exercise from module 3 and practice it with someone. If you're going through the class and you want to be able to do that, and let's say you missed the class on Tuesday, but you want to make up the material. So you go into the learning portal on the weekend, you pull up that section, you go through it, you can go to the study support group, contact one of those people, and set up a practice session. So there's the ability to do that. On top of that, there is also a Facebook group, but within the learning portal. We've gotten a lot of feedback over the last few years that people are really they have concerns about Facebook. They have concerns about privacy if they join a Facebook group, because a lot of times in Facebook, you have your family stuff, you have your personal information, you might have pictures of loved ones and things like that. So we have spent a lot of time building in the ability and redesigning the website so that we can have our own unique group and community for each and every class. And that does not end at the end of your class. That goes on indefinitely. So that's one of the reasons it's a living program. You can log on at any time, a year from now, 2 years from now, go to the NLP hypnosis certification, find out what's going on in the community right now, and you can ask questions to the trainers. You can ask questions. You can share your wins, share your successes. If you are working with a client and you have some troubleshooting that you need help with, which is very, very common, you will also get the ability to get those questions answered as well. And then on top of that, there's a forum in there as well. So our goal is to create a very rich, vibrant online community that you can go back to time and time again, and that you'll always have access to. There's a number of other programs in there. We will also be doing, starting in 2023, we'll be doing what we call office hours. And office hours will happen probably monthly at the very least. We might do it weekly. We're still kind of working that out. We're going to have to test to see what works. But on top of the live and online courses, there'll also be these office hours where you can log on and ask questions directly to myself or Tim or Nick. We may do demos of particular processes that you're struggling with. We can do what we call hot seats, where you bring your challenge and we kind of talk about it at a group level and discuss different, tools and techniques that might work to do that. So there's lots of opportunities to do that as well. So it is genuinely a living program. The other thing that makes it a living program, and this is really cool, is that every year we're updating the programs, because most of these programs we're going to run a live online version once a year or once every other year. And in service of that, every time we do that, we will update what's in the learning portal. So we might update the materials, we might add more materials, we might update the manual, we might add a new manual. Like the NLP coach program just finished, and I'm about to add in an extra manual on top of the handouts and videos and everything else that they've already gotten. They've gotten everything they need, but I'm now going to add a manual on top of that just because we finally got that put together, and we're going to add that as extra stuff. So there will always be updates to your program moving forward. And part of our reason for doing that is we want to really support you really getting this stuff in your bones and learning it. And it's not enough to just, you know, take it in and consume information. You need to actually practice it. So in service of that, one of the aspects of this program is what we call the in-between coaching or hypnosis sessions. So along with the 15 modules, 3 hours a piece, that you'll be going through as part of this program, you will also be asked to meet with a partner or a team member. This will be another student in the class, and practice doing hypnosis outside of class. And usually we'll ask you to do that once a week. There are going to be a minimum number required for certification. So there'll be a minimum of 6 of those sessions required, where you will be administering 6 hypnosis sessions or practice hypnosis sessions as part of your ability to get certified at the end. And we do a certification, which is not a completion course. You'll see a lot of programs online right now, and at the end of that, they give you a certificate of completion. That's very, very different. And that, of course, is available for anyone who goes through an online program from start to finish. But that doesn't mean you're certified. To be certified in neurolinguistic programming or to be certified in hypnosis legitimately, we as trainers need to validate that you have the skills, and that you have really learned the material. We are also part of what's called the NLP Leadership Summit, which is a governing body. It's a group of professional NLP institutes from around the world that share a core set of standards and ethics and practices to really preserve the quality of NLP and also hypnosis training. And so we adhere to that, and that's very, very important. So our ability to certify you is a big deal. That also means that when you have a certificate from NLP Institute of California, it's going to carry a lot of weight and it'll be recognized by a lot of other institutes. I can just tell you, we have had people that have come to our institute for the master practitioner training who got kind of, we'll call them the quick and easy, super cheap NLP certifications elsewhere. And what they find is most of the time nowadays, we actually, with some of them, we say flat out, and you have to do another program first. You have to do one of our programs or one of our partners' programs to qualify to go to the master prac, because they're just not going to be able to keep up. They don't know the material, they don't understand it, and they actually hold back the class, which is why we can't allow them to take it. But when you get a certificate from NLP of California, that certificate is going to be recognized by a lot of different institutes around the world as very legit, and they'll know this person's got some skill. Okay. So someone's asking for my email. Yes, I will put my email in here, and you can certainly email me with any questions. I'm also going to put in my phone number. You can text me with any questions that you have as well. And I'm extremely text friendly. So my name is Robert Harrison. I am the director of the NLP Institute of California. I'm also a board certified hypnotist, and I'm also a certified hypnosis trainer through the National Guild of Hypnotists. For those of you who complete the training and are interested in joining the National Guild of Hypnotists, getting certified through there, becoming a member there, that's also something that we can help you do. Once you've completed the training, we can, certainly introduce you to that. I know Dwight Damon. I know Elsom Eldridge, who run the National Guild of Hypnotists. They're wonderful people, and that's another kind of community that can kind of support you in your learning. But there are a lot of things about hypnosis that NLP hypnosis certification bring to the table that you probably will not get in any other hypnosis training. And a big piece of that is There's two things. One is when we're doing hypnosis from an NLP point of view, we're taking into consideration what we call the NLP presuppositions. These are governing kind of principles, ways of looking at the world. A presupposition is very similar to a belief, right? But the difference is that with beliefs, it always has to be true. It can never be not true. And, not here to argue and quibble over that. From an NLP standpoint, we look at, is it useful or not useful? And then where, when, and with whom. So we're not judging something. We're not saying this thing's good and this thing's bad. There's no dogma. There's no judgment in NLP. I love that about that. But the presuppositions, like behind every behavior is a positive intention, really change the way you look at the presenting problem the client brings to you. Or the presupposition that everyone has all the resources that they need already within them really changes the approach that you may have as you are doing a hypnosis session. And let me say this, when you're doing hypnosis, okay, there is the art and science of how to get someone into hypnosis, and then how to deepen it, how to use convincers, how to bring them up, how to ratify the hypnosis after the fact, which has helped them kind of review the hypnotic experience they had, which solidifies the hypnosis process. So there's the whole skill set of taking someone in hypnosis, then taking someone out of hypnosis. And structurally, we'll cover all of that, give you multiple ways to take someone into hypnosis. We'll give you a whole bunch of what we call hypnotic convincers that you can use, like making your eyes heavy, making your arm heavy, having them count down from 100 and the numbers disappear before they get to 90. These different hypnotic effects really help the client know they're responding to suggestion and it's working. But that is very separate and distinct from what you do with the person when they're in hypnosis. What is the treatment? How do you prepare the intervention? And how do you deliver it to the nervous system of the person that's in front of you? I can tell you, after doing this kind of work for, well over 20 years, that how I lead a person from present state where they are now to desired state where they want to be will vary wildly depending on the person, depending on the person, depending on their personality, depending on what they care about, depending on, what's true for them in their life, and depending a lot on kind of the context, the where, when, and with whom. So one intervention that what might work beautifully with one person, I might have to do it with somebody else to get the same result based on their personality. So another aspect that's very unique about this particular program is we're going to talk a little bit about the core different personality differences and how that radically affects how you would give a hypnotic suggestion or how you would help them begin to change a habit or reinforce a new habit they want to do more of. And basically how you communicate them and how you help to enroll and enlist and engage them in making a change. There are certain things that if you do with a certain personality type will guarantee it's not going to work. And there's certain things that if you do with a certain personality will almost guarantee they're going to say yes and take action. And everyone's personality, think of it like a river that flows through your life. Okay. We all have unique kind of aspects of our personality. If you've been in a relationship, if you have close family members, which all of us do, right? You know, that there's certain things that may stress you out that don't seem to stress out other people around you for some reason. And there's certain things that maybe stress them out that don't seem to bother you for some reason. So think of your personality like a river with its own unique twists and turns, and it kind of runs through your life. And uh, everyone isn't any better or worse than any other one, but they're different. And your ability to notice that, to see those patterns and know how to work with them is a huge part of what we're going to cover in this program and how to do that hypnotically to create very powerful, very lasting changes with the people that you are working with. And what works with one may not work with another. The other thing is, in this river metaphor, the reason I use that is because when you are working with your personality, things in life, goals that you go after, things you attempt to do will feel very easy and very natural. Many of us maybe have things we feel we're naturally gifted towards, or we have a natural kind of like, wow, he's a natural with that, or she's a natural with that. Well, chances are the way you're going about that, the way you're looking at that, the way you're addressing that fits your personality. So it feels like flowing downstream, very easy, very natural, right? But the areas in your life where you feel like you're banging your head against the wall, where you're struggling, where it feels like, gosh, no matter what I do, nothing ever works, chances are you're swimming upstream, right? It's exhausting, it's tiring when you're swimming upstream, and often you get nowhere. Or if you make progress, it's like a snail's pace. And so there's a reason for that, and that is you're probably fighting your personality. So that's incredibly relevant when you're doing human behavioral change. And it's just as relevant when you're doing hypnosis. And so we know that that is a core, really, really important part of creating lasting behavioral change. So that's something we're going to cover in the program. The other part of the program that's truly unique because of the NLP aspect of the hypnosis program is really understanding at a very acute level language patterns, what we call the Milton model language patterns. And Milton Erickson, again, was a very famous psychiatrist and medical hypnotherapist. He was known for getting phenomenal results with some of the most challenging clients that therapists could encounter. And he had just this incredible knack. And Richard and John really modeled extensively the different language patterns that they were using. So a lot of hypnosis programs focus more on the fundamentals, getting someone in hypnosis, getting someone out of hypnosis, the different types of inductions, the different types of convincers, the different types of deepeners. We're going to cover all that, but we're also going to spend a lot of time really helping you understand and how to use these very powerful language patterns that will help reframe things and challenges and ways of looking at the world for your clients to help them feel like they're floating downstream, to help it feel easier and to help it get into the nervous system. There's also a tremendous amount on your ability to calibrate your client and notice what's working and what's not. And NLP does so much of that in its ability to recognize patterns in behavior and patterns in thinking. And we're also not just looking at, the behaviors a person's doing. A lot of other programs really focus on the layer of behaviors. But in NLP, we recognize the different levels of change that can occur for a person, the different levels of change that we need to really operate on to get effective results. So one, for example, is the level of environment. What environment are you putting yourself in? When you want to change a habit, changing your environment definitely helps that a lot. We all know that. That makes a lot of sense. There's the environment of your house, your home, where you spend your time. There's the environment of your body. But it's our behaviors and what we're doing or not doing that's going to affect that environment. And so at another layer, there's these layer of behaviors. What am I doing specifically that's producing the results that I want? This is where a lot of programs kind of hang out and kind of stop. And, maybe you've had this experience before where, you're struggling with something and you just can't get it. I know for years I felt like I'm not a math person. And so, I would struggle with anything having to do with numbers and finance and math and stuff like that. And oftentimes our friends and loved ones would say, well, have you tried this? Have you tried that? And they're offering another behavior or another skill to do. The challenge is that, you know, there's oftentimes a higher level blockage that's preventing you from getting that basic behavior or skill or just trying what your friends and family and loved ones are suggesting. What is that? That is the beliefs and the values that you hold about yourself that you may or may not be aware of. So in NLP, we look at environment, we look at behavior, we look at skills and capabilities, which is like clusters of behaviors. Then we look at beliefs and values. And this is another much higher level of work with a person. And when you make a change at a belief level, it will instantly allow them to adopt and take on new skills and capabilities much more easily than before. Without changing that belief, it's like swimming upstream. Once that belief is changed, oftentimes what felt swimming upstream can now feel like gliding downstream. And on top of beliefs and values, there's what we call the identity level, which is like a cluster of beliefs and values. So think about someone who suddenly goes from being, a single person to a married person. There's a whole identity shift there, right? Or perhaps a woman goes from, being a wife to suddenly being a mother. She has her first child. There's a whole new identity shift there. Or a young person goes into the military for the first time, or becomes a college student, or graduates from college and goes into the working world. And now they become a professional. And these identity level shifts really affect our neurology to a great extent. And so these are all the things that in the NLP hypnosis certification, we're going to be taking into account when we're preparing the suggestions and when we're crafting the intervention for the client to help them get a powerful result. So that's a whole nother layer that it brings to the table. NLP also adds a heightened sense of what we call sensory acuity, which is your ability to notice differences and changes in the person you're working with. There's a lot of standards in hypnosis in terms of noticing hypnotic mask, noticing hypnotic receptivity. Are they responding to suggestions or not? But there's also a lot of extra sensory acuity that an NLP hypnosis certified person will notice that other people's won't. Like when eyes are moving in a certain direction during the pre-talk. And a pre-talk, if you're not familiar with what that is the patter, the dialogue that happens before they formally enter the hypnotic state, where you're assessing what needs to change and where they're at now, and where they want to be, and what's getting in the way, and what we need to change to get them there. And so during that assessment process, there's a lot there that's really, really important in your ability to notice. Like, is the person congruent with the goal they say they want, or are they incongruent? Congruent means all parts of their mind and body are totally in alignment. If they're congruent, they're going to do it. But if they're incongruent, there might be a concern. There might be some part of them that has the like, well, what if this happens? Or what if that happens? And what do I do with that? And so in NLP hypnosis certification, we address a lot of these things and how to detect these incongruencies before we then enter the hypnotic process to do that. Okay. So, at this point, let me see if there's any other questions that you have about the training. And if so, just go ahead and put them in the chat. I appreciate everyone being on here. Otherwise, what we're probably going to do is we're going to probably end the live stream in just a few minutes here. So I've kind of given you an overview of the program. The way the program works is when you sign up, we have a full pay option, which is $24.97. We also have an 8-pay option if that's easier. And we have a 15-pay option. So you're basically just paying once a week over a course of 15 weeks. Like I mentioned before, you will have lifetime access to your course after you complete it. You will also be a permanent part of the community. So you will be able to go into the community, ask questions anytime, well after your training is ended. When we have office hours, you'll be able to attend those and talk directly to myself, Tim, or Nick, or one of our other trainers to ask questions about the particular process that you're working on, or some other aspect of hypnosis, or troubleshooting with a client. Because that's definitely, if you're going to practice professionally, you're going to want a lot of troubleshooting with different scenarios that come up. We will cover a lot about different hypnotic metaphors and things like that. We're going to be, covering the structure of a hypnosis session. There's a really neat what we call hypnotic formula. This is something that I created years ago that makes it really, really easy for a beginner to construct a really powerful hypnotic suggestion. And it's really nice. The way it's laid out is you simply kind of fill in the blanks. And at the end of that, you have a really powerful hypnotic suggestion. We're going to show you also how to prepare that intervention. So there's a lot in there about how to identify correctly the present state and then the desired state, and what we need to do to bridge that gap, how we take that and filter it through their personality so that they're likely to stay emotionally open and receive the change that you're going to give them and not get stuck. Okay. And then what to do when, problems and challenges arise, which naturally they probably will. And then we'll also be covering different aspects of how to go in and do very specific interventions, like what specifically would we do with stress or weight loss or smoking or something like that. So with that said, I think I've kind of covered some of the big broad strokes. If you go to the website at nlpca.com, If you then go to the hypnosis certification page, you can get the whole curriculum in great detail is laid out there. It's an expandable table. You can check that out and take a look at that. And um, if you come to the program, let's say after the first week for any reason, if there's not it's not resonating with you, if there's a challenge, if you don't feel the course is right for you, then we will gladly refund 100% of your money and send you along your way. That rarely happens, but we do want you to feel comfortable with your investment, that there isn't some sort of bait and switch or anything like that. So we want you to get in, we want you to be happy, we want you to want to be there and enjoy it. And I will tell you this, the majority of the people that do a program with us will do multiple programs with us. And I think that's because of the quality of the training, the quality of the community that's built, and the support that they get. Okay, great. Thank you for your question, Sarah. So Sarah's question is, I'm curious about triggering a client's trauma. That is definitely something we are going to talk about. And trauma and what we call abreaction. So abreaction is, let's say a client's in hypnosis and suddenly this memory comes back and suddenly they're in kind of a traumatized state where their nervous system is fully activated. With trauma, what's happening is a past event is being re-experienced as a present day threat. Okay. And so with trauma, we in the NLP practitioner training, which is also known as the fundamentals course, we teach you extensively how to work with trauma, how to resolve that with clients. And there's also a huge part in there about what we call ecology and the ethics of when and how to do that, when not to do that, when to refer out. Working within scope of practice is incredibly important. But one of the things we will definitely be covering in this NLP hypnosis certification is, if the client does seem to abreact or get triggered, what do we do? How do we get them to a safe place? How do we neutralize the situation, and so that the client is leaving the office feeling resourceful and feeling positive? So that's 100% something that we are going to cover. I will tell you, in 20 years of doing hypnosis, when you are doing hypnosis well and it's well structured and well thought out, that rarely happens. I've seen maybe one abreaction in over 20 years of doing it, and I've seen thousands of clients. I mean, I would average about 50, 60 hypnosis sessions per week for years. So I know a lot of full-time hypnotists maybe see 10 or less a day. These days, I don't see anywhere near those numbers because I do a lot of training and I'm doing all of my work online like that. So it's one person at a time. So I might see, 10 plus a day. I might see at the most 12 people in a day now. But I've seen abreactions, I think maybe one time in 20 years. Now, I will tell you, we've had a couple other interesting things that have happened. I have had people get so relaxed that their whole body starts to relax. And, like I had one gentleman one time who came in and he had just had prostate surgery, and he needed to quit smoking. And since he had cancer, he was very frightened about the effects of smoking. So he came in to quit, and he got so relaxed, he actually kind of relieved himself in the office. And that was, we handled that. And that's something we can kind of talk about if you have some sort of, what do you do if that happens? And I've had that happen, relieve himself, number one. And I had one other client relieve herself with number two during the session because she became so relaxed. And one was a medical case. One was someone who was, in their, we'll just say, upper years. And so I think maybe continence was an issue for them as well. But these things, very, very rare, only once with both of those in over 20 years of professional practice. So it's very rare that that would happen. But if it does happen, we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about, I think for a lot of people who are new in hypnosis, there's a lot of fear about like, oh my God, well, what do I do if it doesn't work? Or what do I do if it seems like they're not responding? And again, when you set up the hypnosis session right, it's very rare that that's going to happen. Very, very rare. But also, there's a lot of things you can do to make sure that the odds of that happening are very, very rare. So for example, in the vetting process of your hypnosis client, before you take them into hypnosis, during that hypnotic pre-talk, you're screening them. And remember, it's not just like you're screening them to see if they want to work with you. You're screening them to see if you want to work with them. I do not want to work with someone who does not want to work with me or who I feel is not open and receptive to what we're doing. Okay. So and I'll give you a common example of this. A parent drags the child in and says, make him quit smoking. I found out he's smoking. We found cigarettes in his backpack after high school and, make Joey quit smoking. And Joey's looking at me like, good luck. I'm not going to work with that person. That person will not be a good hypnosis subject. Or if someone comes in to try and prove that hypnosis won't work for them, I'll just say, congratulations, you're right. Because whatever you want, you're going to get. I can't make you do anything in hypnosis that you do not want to do. But what happens with a lot of people, if they're not properly educated before they go into hypnosis, uh, those common things that come up will cause them to maybe doubt the process or think it's not working. I know when I did my first hypnosis session, oh my God, like 27 something years ago to quit smoking, I literally thought I was going to go in. The guy was going to tell me to close my eyes. I was going to black out and like a surgery, and then wake up at the end, and suddenly it was going to be like the end of Back to the Future. My life would be magically different, and like I would feel totally different. And I remember as soon as he started talking to me, I closed my eyes and I'm thinking to myself, my God, I can hear him. I can hear every word he's saying. Does this mean it's not working? Does this mean I'm not in hypnosis? Should I say something to him? He's kind of, a little scary. Maybe I won't say something to him. And I had all these questions in my mind because I didn't know what to expect. And I wasn't properly guided on what hypnosis feels like. So it's very normal and natural, if you attempt to go into hypnosis, just like if you attempt to go into meditation, that the minute you try to slow down, your mind gets chittery, chattery. It starts to talk a lot, and you have a hard time relaxing. If you've ever tried to listen to some self-hypnosis online or something like that, you've probably had the same experience where you try to slow down and relax, and all of a sudden you become really agitated and nervous and fidgety. These are very, very normal things that happen. And hypnosis can deal with them very easily. But again, if the person experiences that and doesn't know that's normal, they may think they're doing something wrong, and then they won't know what to do next, or then they'll, have a hard time focusing on what you're telling them. Hypnosis is a lot like watching a really good movie. That's a really good way to think about it, because if you've ever been, in front of a TV or in front of a movie that you weren't into or you weren't interested in, or you were distracted and thinking about other things, you probably noticed you didn't have much response to whatever's going on in the film, if you even noticed it at all. But when you go to a movie that you really want to see, you sit down, you focus your attention, you use your imagination. And if it's really good and really engaging, pretty soon you become less and less aware of what's going on in your body, simply because you're really getting more and more drawn into the story and what's going on in the movie. If it's really, really good, if it's funny, you're laughing, if it's thrilling, you're holding on the edge of your seat, if it's emotional, you get teary-eyed, you're now responding to suggestion. And if you can do that, you can do hypnosis. Okay. But it does require your participation. It requires that you focus your attention, you use your imagination to the best of your ability. And so a great way to think about going into hypnosis is think about it as the hypnotist is kind of like the star coach, and you are the star athlete. The two of you must work together. The coach isn't going to run the race for you, but the coach can show you how to run the race faster or easier or make it more enjoyable. So just like with neurolinguistic programming, we are not the ones creating the change in the client. We are like the guides. We have the lantern. We are leading the way. We've done it thousands of times. We've walked thousands of people down this path. We are the tour guide of the mind. We know how to get you there, and we know how to make it work for you. But you must come along for the ride, and you must work with us. And when hypnosis is set up properly, that becomes incredibly easy to do. Okay? So these are just a few of the things we're going to be talking about in the program. Any other questions before we wrap up today? If you have any other questions, just go ahead and throw them in the chat here, and I'll try to answer them. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. And I appreciate you all being here. I hope to see you on Tuesday, November 5th, starting at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Again, my name and phone number is in the chat. It's also, we have contact information on the website. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions about the program before it begins. And we hope to see you there. I appreciate your time today, and take care. Bye-bye.